That's it. Now it goes all straight face and very serious.
The fun's over.
No dropping F-bombs.
You guys know I'm a CFO by trade, so I am not funny.
Simon will bring it out of you.
Right.
No, trust me, I will.
And we are back, the Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me is my lovable British co-host,
Geezer.
Simon. Good to see you again.
Yeah. It's been a busy week, isn't it?
It has been an extremely busy week. We're the kind of guys that'll we'll take it when we can get it. Sometimes we'll record one show a week. Sometimes we'll record one every 2 weeks, split into two. This weekend's happened to be a busy weekend. We have Melissa Gayon on Friday, Nicholas Robertson on Saturday, who pay attention to. He's going to be pitching in the big leagues probably by the end of the year at the latest. And just a real humbled kid. I'm really excited to kind of watch his progress and having something to do on a Saturday night for recording a show, kind of peek in and see where he's at, like some of these race car drivers. And
very humble chap.
Yeah, and we also had a big night, Friday night, over at 5 Points Music Sanctuary, where Crawford and Power, as we spoke about on the last show, just kind of blew the roof off the place, and still kind of bewildered by that whole experience and that whole night. That was a lot of fun.
That was superb.
It really was.
I had a riot there. I mean, it was just great, jam packed. They knocked the roof off. Just a superb performance. And they go in places.
And I'm not the biggest fan of their style of music. I haven't been for a long time now. With that being said, they're really good performers, and they made it a lot of fun. It wasn't just, go out here and play the same 20 songs and bore you to death. I mean, they really know how to get up and work a crowd.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's stage presence, and that you can't be taught that. You've either got it or you haven't.
I wish I had a notebook to take down some notes about stage presence and pass them along to Josh Grice. But since I didn't, but he's too old at this point in time.
I think arthritis actually holds him back a bit.
So that, lack of personality holds him back quite a bit as well. A receding hairline, things of that nature.
There's a rugby song about that somewhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, Josh is great. If I win a show without giving him hell, it really wouldn't be much of a show, but we thank them.
Well, this is out the gate, Billy. This is a bit unusual. We normally get a certain flow going, and then you do a bit of character assassination, but this is out of the gate, off the blocks.
Well, there's a good reason for that today.
Oh, dear. It's not his birthday, is it?
No. Right. I don't even know when his birthday is. It's a good day because, when we started this show a couple of years ago, him along with a big group of the rest of them thought I was about half crazy and nuts and this kind of stuff. And maybe they were right to some degree. But right now, this very moment in time, where are you sitting at?
I'm sitting center stage in the Living Proof Brewery, and what could possibly go wrong? And
it is just a little bit after noon on a Monday.
It's over the yard arm, that counts.
Right now, those fellas who laughed and called me crazy are sitting around at their jobs doing depositions and writing up some kid for not bringing in his homework or stealing our money. That's for my banker friends and pissing it away. So hoping they're listening to this.
Proper job people.
Exactly. So hoping they're listening to this, they continue to think I'm crazy because I'm sitting here day drinking and they're being bored as hell. So there's been a lot of character assassinations this go around. But yeah, we're here today at the Living Proof Brewery. This has been an opportunity for us that we've wanted to jump on for a long time. We're going to get to know these guys here and kind of get their story a little bit. You know how we are. We like really supporting the local movement here, and this is a new operation here in town. And we wanted to get to them since they opened, and with our busy schedule and stuff, it was the first time we were able to collaborate, and I don't think it could have been a better time. It's our 99th episode, so I'm really excited about that, and I'm going to let these boys introduce themselves and what their part is in the brewery.
Oh, I guess you're looking at me first, right?
The guy with the Navy hat on. It's okay. We know most of y'all are ASVAB waivers.
That's right.
It's
that's
okay.
Right.
So with the Army.
I had to get a waiver to get in. Yeah. That's all right. I'm doing what I want to do now, right? I'm making beer.
Exactly.
Beautiful. That's street credibility right there. I make beer for a living. Oh, glory days.
It's not as fun as it sounds. But we'll try. But anyway, my name's Rob. I'm one of the owners here, co-owner here, and I'm also the head brewer here.
And a Navy veteran, obviously, unless you're culture appropriating that what's that, stolen valor?
Stolen valor. I just like to wear the hat. No, I really did the time.
Because it gives, you get a free drink every now and then, and you can just write it off. You're like, well, I'm giving free drinks to veterans. And
That's right.
how long ago did you serve?
I joined in 1987. So I served for almost 9 years.
So you got to do the fun stuff in the Persian Gulf.
Really, I hate to tell you what I did during the Persian Gulf. My assignment was with the Armed Forces mortuary out of Dover, but we really didn't get much action. So I mostly worked in Portsmouth.
Well, that's good.
At the hospital.
Yeah, not getting action at the mortuary is a really good thing, right?
Right.
That's a success story.
Right.
Well, it was a pretty big. It was a show of force, that war was. There have been meth heads that have stayed up longer than that war lasted. That's true. And it was just a great show of force. It's like, the Cold War's over. We got all these nice little toys right here. Let's go flex our muscles on these third world nationals right here. And that's basically what we did. In about 3 days, it was done. Not quite so much a second go round. I think we might have kind of kicked the hornet's nest the first time, and the second go round they were still swarming, but it's neither here nor there. So we appreciate your service. So we always enjoy the military people on here because they can crack some jokes. And lucky for you, although Simon isn't an armed forces veteran of this phenomenal country, as we all understand his country finished second, he is a sailor.
Really?
So y'all probably got a lot in common.
Really, Billy?
Yeah.
Again?
1776.
Oh, man. Listen, we had bagpipes and drumsticks. You buggers turned up with muskets.
And we turned up with the French.
And the French. I rest my case there. Zut alors. There's a little bit of cultural misappropriation.
Well, there you go. Got to get a little bit of it in here.
Yeah, quite right too. Bloody French.
And also, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So, Jim Garner, one of the co-owners. Just really excited to have you guys, finally get you guys out here to do this.
Now,
I watched this building going up, and I was always scratching my head, because it's a little cut through here that can be done legally or illegally. But it was a cut through, and I was looking at this.
It depends on whether you're coming or going.
Roger that, very much so. And I was always wondering what it was. And it was only up until a few months ago that I think it was a Philip Bain show and Billy, and I was just like, so that's where the brewery is. So this is my first visit here, and this is spot on. The view off the deck here is as good as you can get, really, from the top floor of the Morris Hotel.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely rocking.
And you're getting in a different direction as well, so you can look up.
And there's the bonus of how many beers are currently on tap. 12 beers on tap.
I knew you might have had a little trouble counting. So
well, I'm an old git now, so I was just trying to count in twos.
And he's like a kid in a candy shop too. He gets so excited, and his adrenaline starts going, and he can't really think. Of course, I'm having the same problem. Look, I've already finished that first beer. It's
you're a shocker. That's gluttony.
They're delicious.
One of the sins that.
And I'm drinking the Mountain Haze right here. That's kind of my kind. I like keeping it kind of light because for whatever reason the thicker, darker beers just kind of take a roll on my stomach. But the Mountain Haze is right up my alley. It's tasty. I can drink 12 or 13 of them and go home and to a very unhappy wife. But I can still do that.
I do. I'll eventually come out with a story about where I ran into a bar that had 42 taps, and it actually was quite a disaster for me. But I'll tell that a little bit later. But I'm currently drinking English ale. So not surprisingly,
do you?
Come on, Billy.
You're gonna drink the English ale, really?
You're damn straight. I am.
Of course he is.
Let me explain something to y'all as well. On Friday evening, it was a big date night. We brought the wives with us to go see Crawford and Power at 5 Points. Ahead of time, we go to Montano's. I don't know if you've ever been to Montano's before. It's a really good restaurant. It's got a pretty.
I know what you're going to do
unique,
now.
You should. It's got a very unique menu, but a lot of different, really good tasting items. Like, you really can't go wrong. 70 probably unique items on the menu. Different from jambalaya to steaks to burgers. What'd you get, Simon?
What do you think I got, Billy?
I want you to tell everybody what you got.
I got fish and chips, and you can sod off.
Fish and chips. He essentially went to Montano's and got a Big Mac.
No, man, no. Listen, because I do my fish and chips my way, and it's. I think I do a very good fish and chips. Now, when you Yanks come over and start doing fish and chips, I've got to make sure it's up to snuff, right? I mean, you can butcher some stuff. It's got to be said. Thankfully, Living Proof here clearly hasn't butchered ESB English Ale, which is off the chart good, I may add. But fish and chips is, it's a cultural thing. And if you do it wrong, you should get scathed for it. And
is the beer too cold for you?
No, actually. I've been... you've got to remember now, I was in Belize and got introduced to a Belizean beer that had roots from a German brewer. It was the only brewery in Belize, and it was called Bellican. And there's no power there, there's no ice, there's no chiller. And it was the foulest tasting muck on the planet. But I drank a lot of it. And funnily enough, that's probably where I got my flavour for drinking rum, because I just couldn't tolerate the beer anymore.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm used to, room temperature, out of directly out of a cask. It's drawn out of the cask, so it hasn't been carbonated and all that good stuff. But this is a really good example of an English beer. I congratulate you. Thank you. It's on point. Oh dear. And this is what time?
We're about at 1 o'clock.
Oh, that's early. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. What could go wrong?
A lot, but typically we try and keep it around PG-13 and save ourselves the trouble later, because Simon, for as many fans he has, he also has detractors out there, and I got to be the one to deal with them on social media, because Simon doesn't participate. So I think it's going to be a good one, because like you said, we're...
People are offended by my poor language. Well, it's quite disgraceful on occasion.
I agree, but so is mine.
You dropped a real bad one recently.
Well, when you get passionate, kind of it's not that you're a vulgar person. It's just you're really driving the point home. You know what I mean? You've been in the Navy. You understand what we're talking about. I mean, if you go a day without cursing, people are going to probably think something's wrong with you. And they say that people who curse tend to be higher intellect. And I've never really fact-checked that or anything, but I'm going to go ahead and tend to agree with it.
Well, the same thing with sarcasm, actually. They say sarcasm is the lowest form of wit, but the highest form of intelligence.
Yes, because you have to also understand the backside of that argument to be sarcastic about it. And most people have tunnel thinking and tunnel vision. But so, yeah, if you haven't been to Living Proof before, we're going to try and give you a little bit of a a feel to what we're looking at here. So, you walk in here, and it's very cool, and that's not just from a observation. It's also just like emotionally, like it's a very cool setting. You come in here, you feel like you can sit down and have a good time. It's white, a lot of white around here, and that's not people. I'm talking about the walls. It's spacious, and you got the deck out here that overlooks downtown Rocky Mount, which this is such a great addition to the downtown Rocky Mount area, because the Harvester is one thing. And you can have it here, and that's all fine and dandy. But if you don't have anything else here to draw people in, it kind of, people would much rather go somewhere else where they can grab themselves a beer or a drink or something on top of it. So now you throw in the hotel, now you have the burger company, now you have this place up here. So I got to ask you, gentlemen, what was it about this spot that y'all decided on to open up your brewery?
Wow. We had looked at a ton of places in Rocky Mountain. There's some great buildings here and some great places to be, but I think literally once we saw this spot and drove up here and looked at the view, it was a done deal. They probably could have asked us for $1 million, and we might would have found it somewhere. I mean, the view is incredible. That's what we wanted. We wanted a place where people could go just kind of unwind and enjoy that view. So I think that was the selling point for sure.
Yeah, it definitely has one of the best views in town. I mean,
no question.
When we bought the property, June of 2021, we closed on it in August. That Christmas, I hadn't been downtown in Rocky Mount probably about 5 times my entire life before we bought this. Now I'm here, obviously, 4 times a week. But when we bought the property and we had come home to Christmas, that was the first one I'd ever been to. And my wife and I came out here, and this entire piece of property was filled with cars. So this is where everybody parked.
That could be. Is that walk-in traffic? Would that be considered a walk-in or walk-through traffic?
It will be now, because I have to park a little further away and I go walk right by here.
Oh, yeah.
And who's not going to want to swing in here and get a beer while they have to go down there and chase their kids around for 2 hours?
You got to have a little something to get you through chasing your kids around.
Exactly. And somebody with a nearly 4-year-old and a nearly 1-year-old, I have to take the edge off somehow.
So tell me, you talked a little bit offline with me when we were out on the deck there. You had a few unexpected expenses with the topography of the land that, would have detracted quite a few other people.
Yeah.
But, I mean, explain it so the listeners can get some grasp of the gravity of what you had to do to establish the property.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think most people obviously locally know the hill that this is on and the history of that hill. And there was a movie theater a long time ago up in the parking lot up there, and there's a ton of cement. So, obviously, we were responsible for all the water that ran off from our property down. And then, of course, we had to fix everything above us. Otherwise, we'd have a leaky basement, which we do. Yeah, still have a leaky basement.
Oh, damn it.
But, the cost for the stormwater just kept escalating to about 3 times what we originally
it's a big ouch on CapEx. That's a painful front-loaded ouch.
Yeah. The good news is we've made almost all of that back on when Rob brewed stormwater. Almost.
That's pretty good.
Right on.
we had to brew a beer with that name. We had to play on it.
Yeah. I mean, go wind them up. You're putting it to good use, right?
No stormwater was harmed in the making of the beer, just so you know.
Yeah, when we found out this was the spot, I was kind of perplexed. I was like, well, I honestly couldn't imagine why nobody had thought of it before. After I came up here and saw it, I was like, why didn't anybody take advantage of this a long time ago? Like, why did it take so long for this spot, knowing what the view is right there and what you got going on? I'm glad it ended up being you all instead of, like another bank or a insurance firm or something like that, something boring. Now people have something to come look at and swing by here. And you get a lot of people, just getting off work right up here at the jail and the courthouse who, other than a cop, would probably need a beer at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Having to deal with a lot of the nonsense they got to deal with. Just walk right on over here, out of uniform, grab them a brew on the way. I mean, it's a perfect location. It's centrally located for anybody coming up here doing anything else. And the most important thing is the beer is good.
I think the beers, I tell you, I couldn't be happier. I've just found a new watering hole. I'm in heaven right now.
Because you can have a nice spot and you can have all the aesthetically pleasing, decorations and stuff going on. But if you can't make a good beer, it ain't going to last very long. And I'm pretty peculiar when it comes to my beer. Like, just a little bit of change. I used to really like the Vienna Lager, and I don't know if something changed with it or maybe Anheuser-Busch took over it. It just kind of, when it started getting mass produced, maybe they started producing it somewhere else where the water wasn't quite the same. Because the water, I don't think people think about that much. That's why they say the pizza in New York is so unique. It's because that sewer water they use up there, to make the pizza. Just it's a different
kind. Same with the hot dogs, right? The dirt.
That's it.
Sewer water dogs.
Yeah. So
they've always said that actually about Guinness, and I haven't been to Dublin, but I've been to Southern Ireland. And the Guinness there was. I got into Guinness in Southern Ireland wasn't as popular, let's say, as Murphy's, but it's still another stout, but. I did get a chance to drink some Guinness there too, funnily enough, and it tasted so much better. I mean, it was significant, the difference between Guinness that's brewed here under license or has been shipped somewhere, has been affected by temperature, but it was a significant difference, and that you can only put it down to the water of the Liffey running through Dublin. And I'm sure the quality of beer is very reliant on their flavour profiles coming out of the products you put in. It makes perfect sense, right?
You would think so.
Well, I mean, and you're also very specific there about the ingredients that you're using to make your beers as well. So, I mean, you're the mixologist. You really, you're just pulling all these ingredients together to get the flavor profiles that you think are going to,
Really, I just throw everything together willy-nilly.
No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
Just kidding.
If this was willy-nilly...
specific. I've tried...
You need to go to a casino.
Right? No, before I do any recipe, I'm very big about trying the grains, specific hops that I've had, and I know the flavor and the aroma, and try to imagine what it tastes like blended together. So...
I mean, there's a certain amount of experimentation, obviously. But when you hit the jackpot, and the English ale, let me tell you, I think is the jackpot.
Hold on. Oh, never mind. I'm trying to process the stereotypes here with you. You talk about Guinness.
I'm making it too easy for you.
You drink Guinness, and then I'm thinking about Amos, and he drinks Yingling, and that's so stereotypical, because... The Dutch Amish and Pennsylvania and him being a German.
But it's what you're brought up on, It's as soon as because they say English beer was an acquired taste. It took an acquired taste.
I think everything English, from the beer to the food to the people, are an acquired taste.
Definitely the people.
Yeah. Definitely an acquired taste. The people. With my bagpipes and drumsticks.
And your kilt.
And my wee kilt. It's a wee broad-licht, moonlicht nicht. Something like that, anyway. Where was I going? I was wandering off there.
Talking about stereotypes.
Stereotypes in English ale. Sodja. It's delicious.
I was trying to, like I said, just compartmentalize all that and just how stereotypes really do suit. Like, people get so irritated about them, but like me, my stereotype is Buzz Light and Grizzly Dip. I don't dip anymore, but I do live that stereotype. I drink Budweiser like if I'm out playing golf, because you can't drink craft beer.
You can.
Oh yeah, you can.
You can drink a seltzer.
You can, but when it's hot outside, for me, I like that. As we were talking about back at your operation back there about carbonation. I don't know. Maybe it's
get yourself a growler and an ice chest. You're good to go, my friend.
When I drink the crafty beer, it gets me messed up a lot faster. And when I'm playing golf, I'm trying to.
Is that your same?
One beer every 3 or 4 holes.
That's an admission.
Now, if I do that with a Budweiser,
Note the admission there. He's a lightweight.
I'm not a lightweight. I am somebody who is methodical about my beer choices when I'm performing certain activities, because I know how my body responds.
You're lightweight.
And I have a wife who sits at the house with a rolling pin ready to whack me upside the head with it if I'm acting out of control. So I go out and play 18 holes and I drink 12 craft beers, I'm going to be stumbling in there. But if I go drink like 14 or 15 Budweisers, which, it's Budweisers, it's not great. It is what it is, but...
Don't call it beer on this show.
But for me, I can at least not stumble. I can walk through the door, and I can at least...
Well, that's the difference between quaffable beer and non-quaffable beer. We had this discussion, again, offline, with barley wine, which is a very strong beer. You can't drink a lot of it. It will put you on the floor. But then there's certain beers, I don't know what specific gravity the English ale is. It tastes as though it's quite a quaffable beer, and it's not going to put you on the ground. You're going to need to drink significant quantities of it to face plant. But, God loves a trier, right?
Well, I would say...
You stay with your Bud White, you Nancy boy.
Only when I'm golfing and mowing the yard. That's it. Golfing and mowing the yard. Any other time...
Talking about styles of beer, right? So when we open, I would say the one for par, which is actually named for golf, sort of. Rob was making we have two other operating partners. Mark Hamilton, who's not here, and then Scott Burney, who lives up in Pennsylvania, and he's an investor in some other breweries, and he sells us a lot of our hops as well. So Rob decided to brew a beer for Mark, and Mark and I are both golfers, and Rob called it one for par, and then of course I was like, well, par's really 3, 4, or 5, and Rob was just like, it's one for par. That's what we're calling it.
It's one for par.
Yeah, it does have a catchy little,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
It's called everything but one for par when people order it, but it's still one for par.
Well, that's the price you pay for Rocky Mount. You know what I mean? most of the people probably already have sipped on a couple before they come here in the first place. And
I don't know what you're suggesting or implying there.
I'm implying that alcohol is quite the.
I'm afraid it is. Yeah,
has quite the history here in this town. Which so let's talk about, speaking of history. What is y'all's history in the beer world? So you've been brewing for, you said, 20-some years now?
I've been home brewing for about 20 years. I always wanted to get into the craft beer industry somehow or another. So my first job I took actually was a tour guide for Roanoke Craft Beer Tours. Figured I'd break in somehow or another. Didn't really break me into the industry really well, but it introduced me to a lot of people. So,
and a lot of beer.
And a lot of beer, yeah.
What a bonus.
So what's your favorite one in Roanoke? So if you're driving around, you want to go somewhere, and don't and you can't use your former employer because that's too easy. So
I was going to go right with my former
I
employer.
knew exactly what you were going to do, because why wouldn't you? So yeah, let's take them out of the equation, which is Old Salem Brewing, correct?
Correct.
I've had to deliver to that place, but I'm not going to tell my company on here and give it away because I don't want these lunatics calling my office every single day. But we've had to deliver there. And breweries, for my job, is one of the biggest pains in the asses that there can possibly be, because those pallets come in 2,500 pounds, and they're expecting us to take them off the back of a lift gate that says it's 3,000 pounds. But, I mean, when you're getting that beer on there, it's that wheat and stuff. It's flexing a little bit. So, and a handful of them have the forklifts. Handful of them have the docks, but then you get the ones like Old Salem, and you got to pull up on a street and then drag that thing across a parking lot about 100 feet. And I'm pretty sure you were probably one of the guys I had to sign off a couple of times when I was doing it, because you probably know what company I worked for.
I certainly do now.
Yeah. I don't know if we still deliver over there, but I've had to do it a handful of times, and let's just say I cussed every time I saw it on there, because you got to get into some tight spaces just to get there in a truck. Hopefully our company wisened up, started sending out in straight trucks, but I doubt it. So yeah, you have to wheel the tractor trailer around there. But on the positive side, it's another place I discovered. You know what I mean? And I like discovering those kind of places and talking about them, because being the Appalachian podcast, you know, we reach out to a wide range of people up and down the region. And if I see something cool, I can at least have that experience anyway. But so yeah, take those out of the equation. If you're driving down Roanoke and want to go get a beer at one spot, which one's it going to be? Who's got the best beer?
Man, I guess it really just depends on what kind of beer I'm looking for. Overall, probably.
You are what we call a connoisseur. You've got to translate down to the common man. Like we're talking about, Daryl's got his wife in the car and the kids, and they're screaming in the back. He just wants to go get a beer. Where's he going to?
Man, you're killing me. This is tough because I like them all.
He's got friends in the business. He doesn't want to hurt any of their feelings.
I know somebody at all of them, so it's kind of hard to say one way or another. And
he's putting you on the spot. That's a dirty little trick. He does this to me a lot.
I'm going to go two.
Okay, we can do two.
Big Lick and a few old goats.
And what?
A few old goats.
I don't think I've heard of that one. Where's that at?
AFOG. It's close to Big Lick. It's on, I can't remember what street it's on now. 5th, maybe?
Okay.
5th, it's in the bottom of some flats, an apartment complex, some flats. There's.
I know that one place is right off 5th in like Shenandoah. What's the one that they got it's like an old tire shop or something. Old auto body shop. I can't remember the name of that one. That's right there close to 5th.
Twisted Tracks?
There you go.
Twisted Tracks is really good, too. I like their beer, too.
I haven't had theirs yet. I've heard of that.
I can't really decide. Again, it depends on what I'm looking for.
Well, see, you're like me. Any beer's good.
Right.
I do for myself. I really like the Parkway Brewing guys. I like the Get Bent. I've always been a fan of that. Maybe that's because
They celebrated their 10th anniversary this weekend.
Yeah, I mean that's a cool little place to go. You know, it's still very homey and stuff, and it's local, but they do the distribution stuff we were talking about earlier. Yeah, I'm kind of a fan of Get Bent, and this place too. I love my craft beer. And that's one thing when I would always deliver to places too. If they had any kind of distribution cans or anything, that always slip me a little bit, put in the back of my truck and bring it home. And that's always nice. That's a great tip.
Perks of the job, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, hypothetically speaking, not that ever happens.
Of course not. No.
But I'm just saying, if hypothetically they've offered
allegedly
it to you before. Allegedly.
Yeah, there we go.
So you've been doing it for 20 years. You got on the brew tour. How did you finally break into becoming a master brewer?
Well, that's, thanks to Old Salem, I was tired of working my real job. I just
Me too.
Didn't want to do it anymore. I knew all I wanted to do was something with beer, and just happened to be on vacation one day and pull up my computer and saw a job at Old Salem and was like, okay, I'm done working for real. I want to be dirt poor and do what I would love to do. So
that's it, because it's not work when you actually love what you get paid for.
And I used to think people lied when they said that.
No,
used to go,
no.
If you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. It's true.
100% true.
It's 100% true.
Yeah, 100%.
I eat ramen noodles every night, but I want to do.
When I was a diver down in the Caribbean, I spent a year on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And
pack of hot dogs would go a long way, too.
And tequila. And that was just a horrible plan to start with. I was single, and I just didn't have a care in the world. It was great. But I wouldn't recommend peanut butter and jelly and tequila for a year.
How about just peanut butter and tequila? Leave off the jelly.
Because all that sugar is really unhealthy for you.
Didn't need the sugar. I think you may be onto something there. Yeah.
Don't even need the bread. Just mix the peanut butter and the tequila.
I'm not going to go and revisit this and give it a try again because I know it was such a disaster the first time round. But yeah, I mean, it's the simple things in life, and that's what life is about: is enjoying the simple things. And it, having done a job that I thoroughly loved, I didn't even want to get paid. It was just like, this is so cool, On a boat, on the ocean.
I like to get paid.
Yeah. Well, you also weren't living in the Caribbean like this jerk was,
True.
and I say jerk with the utmost amount of respect, and I say jerk because I'm super jealous. I would have loved to have been a diver, because can you talk about all the women that were running by here? Or does your wife listen to the show?
I'm claiming the fifth, and you can shut the hell up.
I'm just saying that's what people call paradise, and you get to work there every single day.
In fact, I met Heather on a dive boat when she was taking a family vacation with her folks and her brother, and I was running the dive boat. This was back in 92. Wow. That's when I first met. Heather.
I don't even think I'd hit puberty at that point in time. So, congratulations on being that much older than me. I didn't realize. I thought you were quite a bit younger than you were.
Now I'm an old git.
But one with quite a few good stories, though. I mean,
I got plenty.
Yeah. So, Jim, what propelled you to jump into the craft brewery world? Because I mean, if you think about it, it is an oversaturated market. To some degree, like everybody out there is trying to make a way at it.
Well, look at Sunken City. Sunken City just fell off the planet.
Great location, you would think.
You would think.
Great looking building.
Maybe a bit seasonal if they're looking for lake business.
Perhaps. But even the one here in Boone's Mill just closed down, Hammer and Forge. But being Franklin County, being such an alcohol-centric town, you would think that it would not quite be that way. But no less, I guess when you got all these different selections at the store as well, which is one thing you didn't have back in the day, it might preclude you from going out and spending the money. So what made you take this leap of faith that some might say?
Because that's a big chunk of change. I mean, you've got a custom-made building on a plot of land that needed a boatload of money sinking in it for flooding and water runoff. So even before you got going, it's just a big chunk of change to invest in something. I mean, your faith in beer is superb. I love it. And there has to be a lot behind that. But it must take a lot more research with catchment areas, how many people you can anticipate getting through.
Yep.
I mean, how did all that research actually tip you over the balance, say, yeah, let's go for it? What was that tipping point?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we definitely did a lot of research. I like to drink beer. I'll just say that. I've always liked to drink beer, and I love IPA. My wife and I came down here in 2007, bought a house on the lake, and there was nowhere to drink. We'd go to Roanoke, and now we go to some of the breweries as they started to pop up down there. And obviously, getting home from the brewery in Roanoke back to the other side of the lake is
perilous task. Perilous task.
Yeah,
Uber doesn't operate that well.
Well, they will, but you're going to pay a chunk of change.
Oh, yeah, you are.
So I've always wanted to do something. Accounting, finance guy. I've been a CFO in private equity in the past by trade. So was looking for another challenge, and I really don't want to give a plug to him, but Rob and I have a mutual friend, Cooper Wilson, who essentially introduced us and kind of got us together. And like I said, Rob always wanted to do something. I wanted to do something.
It just worked out.
Yeah.
That's great when the planets align, and bingo. I mean,
they've had their bumps along the way.
Oh, of course they have. I mean, you're going to get growing pains. I mean, suddenly having to deal with water runoff and triple the expectations of what you had to pay to solve that problem. I'm sure that was a big bump in the bloody road. I'd have got really pissed off about it. But considering it's somebody else's bloody water up on top of the hill above you, that you very generously fixed, but had little choice in doing it. But yeah, no, it's. I mean, the fact that you've had a custom-made building. I mean, that was what was the choice behind having a custom-made building, or perhaps going into another property in this locale that you could rejuvenate or renovate?
Yeah,
was there? I mean, because I'm sure that came across. Should we do it this way? Should we do it that?
We looked at a bunch, but like Rob said, once we found the property, it really was a no-brainer. Once we saw the property, and you've got southern exposure, so you've got the sun going down at night. It's really it's kind of the perfect spot. I mean, we spent a good amount of time working on a marketing plan. My son Zach helped us build that out. We've got four operating partners, one silent, and then we've got 14 other investors that put money into it. So we've all got a lot of skin in the game, but certainly offset by other people.
That's okay. So that it was you've lightened the load with investors, which broadens everything, which is a good idea. So really, the location is what got you into this spot. It was just like, man, just look up. You had the vision.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's great.
The location is everything.
Yeah. I mean, you could say the same about the show. You know, when I went to my buddies, when we first got this thing kicked off, and I didn't really have much of a plan, and oddly enough, 2 years later, I still don't. But I figured...
You're still winging it.
Well, I figured location. I sat there and thought about it, and I was like, I listen to a lot of shows because of my job. You know, I get tired of listening to the same music over and over again, so I start listening to shows. It changes up. Podcasts and stuff, and for 4 or 5 years, you know, driving a truck, I start listening to them a lot and thinking, well, I know enough cool people that have enough cool stories that people would want to hear, and I was confident enough in that fact in a saturated market because everybody and their freaking cousin has a podcast. But to be able to jump, I said location. Well, nobody in the Roanoke Valley really has one that I can think of that's of any kind of popularity, and if they do, or if they have one, a lot of it's a real niche. Like there's 100,000 crime, true murder podcast or 100,000 sports podcast. But if you do something that it's location, well, there's nothing that's really uplifting the Appalachian region. There's nothing, and you start off here in Rocky Mount, but you always have that opportunity to expand to anything that Appalachia touches. And it gives you a golden opportunity to bring in people from so many different backgrounds, and it really does pique people's interest. So, yeah, I mean, I understand the location thing. If we were in California, it might not work quite as well because you got 100,000 other shows there. But here in Appalachia, location.
No, it's definitely, and you've seen the numbers kick off, which is tremendous. There's one thing I wanted to ask as well, and you know, just being motivated politically that we have been over the last few months, I have to ask, how was the planning and the bureaucratic side of and you can answer this as delicately as you may please, but I'm intrigued as to how many roadblocks did you have to overcome, or was it a smooth process? Because, you know, these folks, as a taxpayer, we need to hold them accountable. So I'm just intrigued as to having such a new business. I mean, from the ground up, must have gone through several loopholes. with local bureaucracy just to get planning and approval and permits and God knows what else. So I'm just intrigued. Was that a smooth or a bumpy ride?
I'd say for the most part, it actually was pretty smooth.
That's good to hear.
It definitely was I think for both of us, a huge learning curve, because you're right. There's a lot that goes on that you don't think about. I think the funniest story for me is probably when we had our second town meeting approval. I can't remember which one it was, and people from the town can get up and speak for or against you. And there's one gentleman that basically got up, and I think it was like the way he described it was, people raging from the brewery are going to walk outside and meet people on Sunday afternoon coming out of church, and it was going to be the zombie apocalypse. Like it was.
He was like the guy back in the 60s getting mad at rock and roll, pretty much. way out of touch with what reality actually is.
So what he was concerned about really was having a brothel in his back door, Well, I mean, that was the equivalent.
We haven't put the stripper pole in yet.
Well, no, I wouldn't recommend doing that just yet. But, I mean, do you need a permit for that? Yeah. That's, I mean, when you expose yourself to that sort of public meeting and public comments, they have their place. And whether they hold weight or not can be the difference between, success and failure. But that bureaucracy behind that whole thing is if you've bought the land and you're going to put a significant investment in, it just aggravates me that other people have their hands in that pie.
Well, that's kind of how thing is.
I think the town was pretty good about it, though. I mean, we had a couple people complain, but I mean, when you explain it, when you break it down that a craft brewery is not a bar.
Well, I think that's what it is.
People come and drink and get crazy and go wow, but it's more a community gathering place. It's where people can come hang out with their friends that they haven't seen in a while that are back in town for the holidays, or when you kind of lay it out that it's more like that, people understand.
Well, it's like it's a generational thing. Like you get all of these, people from the older generations, and they think alcohol, their first immediate thought processes go straight to those dive bars where people are getting beer bottles busted over their heads and there's bar fights, and
hey, that's a good time.
Yeah, it's a great time, but I can understand where their lack of understanding may be, because where breweries have popped up here a lot lately. It's a different thing altogether. It's not a dive bar. It's more of a, I don't want to say touristy place, but it's a place people can come in and bring their kids. And I hate to say that because I know my mom's probably listening. Like, I know he ain't talking about taking his kids to a brewery. But, chaos is a good example. It's wide open back in there. If everybody goes up there and meets up, your kids can run around in the back and draw on the board. Everybody's kind of keeping an eye out for them. And, like you said, it can be a family thing. People can come up here with their families.
You see, the pub concept has been a great place of social intercourse, right? And that was how I managed to hoodwink my mother, bless her, into me frequenting just about every pub in the southeast of England, and doing it fairly frequently. I mean, being a rugby player, you've got to be a professional beer drinker. It just goes hand in hand. And she would often say to me, and I think I've said this before on the show perhaps, I can't remember whether it was offline or online, but I would say, we're going to the pub, and she would comment, well, don't you think you spent enough time and money in pubs? I said, whoa. I said, what are you getting at, Mum? Hold on about why are you being so negative about this? Well, it's a pub. You're just going to drink lots of beer and spend all your money. I said, well, that's my choice to start with. And what's wrong with beer? Well, there's nothing wrong with it. Oh, okay. So what's the problem? And we got down to it, and I managed to explain to her, I said, if this was good, because all you'll get around London are these blue plaques on the side of a pub saying that either Dickens had drunk in this pub or Shakespeare had frequented this tavern. And, you get the big blue plaque, and it was a big advertising thing for the pub. So I figured that if it was good enough for Dickens and Shakespeare, surely it's good enough for me. And that kind of shut my mum up for a little bit. Until I came staggering in one day after a game of rugby. It was so plastered I couldn't even get through the door. But and at that point, I moved out fairly quickly thereafter, and had to have my independence. But yeah, it's creating that pub atmosphere where it's about the social intercourse. It's not just about getting loaded on a load of beer. This is where you're going to have a chat with your mates, a chat after work. You know, you can thrash out and resolve the world's issues. And that's a good thing.
Well, we also planned the American Revolution in pubs and bars throughout the Northeast.
It's just a reminder.
Just a heads up.
A small reminder.
And pamphlets, for anybody that thinks memes don't do any good. Hey, it was pamphlets and bars that ended up kind of getting us going in that whole venture. But you're right. And the thing about the craft breweries that are here locally, that makes a big difference from the bar. The bar is just a place people go to drink. But a craft brewery somewhere like this is a place the community comes and they're reinvesting in their own community. Like you guys are around here. You live around here. You are actually producing something in the back of this place right now, and you're serving it to the customers. You're not getting bottles brought in by some vendor. You're not having, your stereotypical corporate beer brought in here. Like you have something that is being made right here in town from the water that we all drink and by people who live here. So
this is a true investment in the community, and it doesn't get purer than that, because it's not as though you're bringing in all these imported beers, maybe not necessarily from other countries, but from other states. You're keeping the money. The money you invested here is actually here. You know, we're not talking about going to Kroger or Food Lion where that corporate money goes straight out of the county and down a toilet somewhere. This is it. This is right here, right now. And I love that concept. Yeah. You know, you've created something that we should be embracing, and I love beer, full stop. Biggest fan of beer. You can't get a bigger fan. So I think what you've done here is absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, everything's definitely centered around the beer, but for people that haven't been here, there's so much more that goes on. Right? We do.
Well, you're gonna end the whole town experience with the Harvester, Philip Bain and the hotel, the Burger Company and Brian, whatever happens with the Early Inn. You're all in this together, and I think when everyone's got some skin in the game, as you said earlier, when you've all got skin in the game for a community, the community can only strengthen from everyone's participation. I can only see this getting better and better. It's a great thing. I love it. A great concept. I think you've got balls of steel coming up with a custom building, on a slope that had notorious drainage issues, and you're making something of it in a very clever way. It's great.
Yeah. Well, we don't like saying there's a ton of other stuff that goes on here. We do trivia every Wednesday. We do music bingo on Wednesdays. The trivia is kind of morphed into pretty big. I mean, it's a captive audience. It's typically the same people, and we actually kind of we now have a local business hosted. So every other Wednesday, a business comes in here. They bring their stuff in here. They host it. They promote themselves. We don't have a restaurant in here, so it's food trucks. Everybody locally delivers up here. Buddy's in here. Buddy's Barbecue's in here. Brian's in here. All the small caterers are in here.
And that's great, too, because people, that's another variable I don't think people quite keep in mind. It's like, well, you go up there and you're not getting the same thing every single time when it comes to food, just like your beers are kind of interchanging. You come up here, you're going to get different kind of seasonal flavors, seasonal things. You're going to get different local people and local caterers. Now you get an opportunity to kind of test them out and see where you might want to use them down the road.
Is that something? Now, I know the licensing here, particularly in Virginia, seems a little bit backwards.
Slightly.
I was being extremely polite and very conservative.
Sarcasm, right?
Yeah, that was so. You got it right away. You see, there's a very intelligent guy.
He is just sucking up to you, so you will bring him some more beer.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm just letting you know.
I don't play that game.
You guys want another one?
But what? the best shit in the woods.
I'll go grab it.
Yeah, I will.
But the thing that gets me with the food trucks and then having deliveries from Buddies or the Burger Company, and the licensing here is it considered a tap room?
It is.
It's a tap room and brewery. So you're under that licensing restriction, because it is a restriction.
Definitely.
Would you at some point, if those licensing shackles came off, would you look at developing into an in-house, not necessarily restaurant, but an eatery? Would that be something that you would possibly consider?
We could do that now, even with the licensing the way it is. We could have a restaurant, which would untie our hands in a lot of other ways. Currently, under the Virginia law, because we don't serve our own food, we can only serve our own beer. The benefit to serving food, if we ever decided to go that route,
it's all about margins, right?
We could have a guest tap in here if we wanted it. Like if we wanted to go to Chaos and bring a Chaos beer in here, we could do it. Under the current licensing, which
now that has its pros and cons as well.
Actually, it came out in 2012 where you could open a tap room without a restaurant. So it's been good for the industry. It's allowed so many tap rooms to pop up. It was a great law that allowed that. So that's kind of where we're staying right now. Future plans, who knows? We have a basement. You never know.
But is that? I mean, but under the existing licensing laws, which I think are very prohibitive, so it restricts your ability to diversify, and that's that lovely new word that everyone keeps throwing around, diversity. I'm talking about financial diversity, in that you can broaden your areas of creating profit margin. At the moment, you can't do that. It has to be an outside source for food. But who knows, potentially one of these days, someone in Richmond will get something put up their backside where they'll figure out that being restrictive on business doesn't help business. But that's just my gripe about bureaucracy in general. They just piss me off.
Well, so, I mean, but you also got to find that silver lining in everything. And like I said, that silver lining is the fact that so many different businesses also get to come up here and kind of spread what they got. And you're like, hey, I got buddies up here. I'm going to go to the restaurant next time. I got the Burger Company.
Well, you've got to consider, though, when you look at that, no one in their right mind, and I know some of the financial models that you use in developing business strategies with regards to, let's say, cinemas. If you or
movie theaters I'm translating
movie theaters. Thank you very much, Billy. Movie theaters, bowling alleys. They've all got to always have an additional source of income for their margins. So they'll go down the popcorn and whatever stand. The bowling alley will have the pizza franchise or something. So they're restricting a business model. And I don't think business needs to be restricted by any bureaucrat. You know, it does my nut in. Because the financial studies have been
does
done.
My nut in.
I'm not even sure what that means.
I don't either. I can't translate for you people on that one. So
it does my head
just
in.
Assume it chaps his ass.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I never like that restriction from a bureaucrat, but that's just me. It's whilst he sips another beer.
Well, let's talk about the trivia night thing, because I think that's a really exciting concept. I think that's something pretty cool. And if I ain't mistaken, you all asked us to host it sometime in April, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what day we're doing it. So just for a heads up, if you're listening to this show, this is what you got to deal with for a night of trivia. Simon and I sit up here and ask questions.
We would be feigning intelligence, let me tell you that right now.
To say the least.
Well, at least we'd have all the answers.
We would.
Bingo.
And that way we could always look down on people if they got it wrong.
Oh, indeed. We could be snobs.
Like, how did you not know the answer to this
God, you must be really dumb.
Yeah. You're not nearly as smart as us, Slack Jaws.
Exactly.
Not even close.
Yeah, you bunch of mouth
But
breathers.
I like that kind of, I always thought to myself, I said, one of the ultimate things I wanted to do with this show is eventually there were steps to it, just like there is steps to a brewery, how you want to take it. And one of those, I said, well, I'd eventually like to get to a point in time where I could open up a tap house here in Rocky Mount, and y'all had the same, trivia night, a place for music and things of that nature. maybe that won't happen now because we've got a place here to actually do something like that. But then again, if the area grows well enough, competition's always good. People want to go back and forth. I remember when Game Day, I don't know if any of y'all remember Game Day being here. It was down there next to Frank's Pizza. And it was a sports bar that kind of resembled Buffalo Wild Wings, but it was local. And Jody and them over at Ippy's used to talk to them about it all the time, and they said, man, competition's great. It's great having them there because a lot of people go from there because they want to come out and they want a bar hop. So they go to that place, then they'll come to our place, where if it's only one place, people get tired of it. They don't want to have to deal with it. It gets kind of redundant. So, you just never know what opportunities are going to present themselves, for a town like this, because I think this town has so much potential. It really does. It really is. I don't want to say it's a diamond in the rough, but we've got so much history here between the moonshiners and the race car drivers and the alcohol. And we're close to Roanoke. We're close to Greensboro.
Crooked Road.
They've got the Crooked Road going on. We got so many good musicians around that as well. So many. You know how many people cut records that are in Boone's Mill 20, 25 years ago that are right now on top in the charts in the bluegrass world? You got the Appalachian Roadshow guys. Junior Sisk is topping the tracks. He's from around here. Lonesome River Band. It's amazing how many uniquely talented people come from this region. And that goes into Roanoke as well and Botetourt and surrounding areas. But we've got something to capitalize on here. And I think you all, what you have going for you all, subtract the fact that you have phenomenal beer and subtract the fact that you have a great location. But you're the first to the show, and you're the best dressed, and that goes a long way. That's why YouTube's still so successful. That's why Facebook. Those companies suck, but you all don't suck. But they were first to the table. Now you all first to the table. You have a golden opportunity here.
Yeah, it could well be a very rosy future. At least that's what I'd be hoping.
I would like to think so. Everybody I know talks about coming up here and coming to this place.
Stuff's definitely starting to catch on. The trivia is, like I said, is kind of a big deal. The music this year we've cut back a little bit, but we're doing some bigger acts. So like Harwell Grice is actually going to be here for our St. Patrick's Day party.
How much do they have to pay you to come play their music? Just give us a ballpark.
We just let them drink for free that day. That's it.
You're going to lose money.
No,
you're going to lose a lot of money.
Josh is a lightweight when it comes to drinking. I've seen him.
With his wife around, I would tend to agree because she keeps him in line. So that's going on. So you got the Harwell Grice Band coming up here.
Yeah, they'll be here.
It's, they bring us into every show and end us in every show, so we got to give them. They are very super talented. They really are. Josh, on the other hand, you can take him or leave him, I guess, but that's great. Because they will pack this place out.
Oh, yeah, they
pack it.
They will pack this place out.
We did a Yellowstone premiere party last year. People were dressed up for it. That was a huge hit. We're going to do more stuff like that this year. I think the town itself, right, just likes the variety.
That is the spice of life. So, the variety definitely will keep you in good stead.
Yeah. And the support we've had since we've come in here, we've got 80-something people in our mug club. We've got.
Tell us about your mug club.
Yeah, that
sounds fascinating. It sounds like pewter tankards on the wall.
I'll let Rob take that one.
Oh goodness, I get one that I have to think about now, right? Everything that's involved with our mug club. Our mug club, we actually call it the 1786 Hilltopper Society, based on 1786, the founding of Rocky Mountain, which I've seen it a couple of different ways, 85, 86. Nobody can give me a real answer, so we just went
close enough.
With 86.
Ballpark.
Yeah, ballpark. It's all the same. It's
close enough.
And then, of course, the Hilltopper Society, because of where we're at, on top of the hill. Why not, right? We're Hilltoppers. I don't know. Coming from West Virginia, that's what they called everybody who lived on top of the hill, Hilltoppers.
Hilltoppers.
So I went with it. We're Hilltoppers. But it's a fairly inexpensive investment. You give us your investment for the year, and for the year you get $1 off of every beer you buy. Special prices on growler fills. Free growler fill a free pint on your birthday. A T-shirt.
Discount on merchandise.
Discount on merchandise, and we're working on special events coming up.
So it's this is a Living Proof supporters fan club almost.
We've got people
with benefits.
We've got people.
It's your way of helping us pay for the stormwater.
There you go. And filtering it.
Yeah, that's right. Filtering it so we can make a beer out of it.
There we go. Beautiful. What a concept.
But yeah, I mean, there's people that obviously regulars that are in here 2 or 3 times a week, and that's the local support has been fantastic.
That's bread and butter.
We can't thank everybody enough, and I think for me, like personally, the most rewarding thing is probably every week, at least once or twice a week, I have somebody come up to me at night and say, "Thank you so much for doing this. Rocky Mount needed this." Like,
yeah, we get a lot of Rocky Mount needed this. But I'm down for the competition too. I'd love for another place to open up here. This, like you said, this town has so much to offer if they would embrace their. I hate to say anything bad, but if they would just wake up and embrace their heritage in this town, it could be a very phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. Place. And me being, somebody who's lived here my entire life, I can say that without hesitation. I mean, when you get that hotel down there and you got however many rooms as Philip have going on at that place, and you still got a couple other, corporate hotels in town, you got beds and breakfast, you get another music venue in here somewhere.
The coffee place.
Yes.
So this is becoming, you can feel the vibe.
You get another music venue in here. Now you've got multiple shows going on every single night. You got people wanting to go around to multiple places and hit them up, and you got them wanting to come in and spend a night, stay in a hotel, maybe go hiking the next day. I mean, because you've got a lot of hiking, you've got a lot of boating really close by. I mean, we are the land between the lakes. There's a lot of things you can do in a weekend in Franklin County and still not do everything. It's going to make you want to come back and do it again. And, everything's in small steps. I don't want Rocky Mount to grow to be like a Christiansburg or even a Salem. I don't want it to ever be that big, but I want it to be big enough to where we have enough places that are not only competing, but they're also working together at the same time because they bounce off of one each other, because you're getting more and more people wanting to come visit here because there is a lot more to do.
Symbiotic.
And it's those tourist dollars.
Symbiotic relationships is
exactly.
What you're looking
There's
for.
Tourist dollars you're after. I mean, you're always going to have your local favorites. And speaking of which, who is y'all's local guy? Because you haven't been here quite a year. Who's the one guy you haven't here that comes in and everybody knows him? Everybody buys him a beer, tips us that. Who's y'all's like bar junkie to this point in time?
Well, we got a couple. We got a couple of regulars that are in here a couple of times a week.
It's when you start putting their names up on little brass shields on the bar stool that they sit at. Now you're a local, and that can happen. You got to earn it.
Because my dad's like a local. He's that guy at Bowling's.
One of somebody that we know that y'all know too. DJ. DJ's pretty much one of those regulars.
Is he really? DJ Jack, you've just been put on
DJ's in here
on notice. But he lives in
Salem.
Okay, yeah. So he's stopping by every day on to and from work, or
yeah, he likes to stop by on his way home from work.
Yeah, because he's going from Salem to Martinsville. That's quite a haul. Because I'm going from Rocky Mount to Martinsville, or no, Salem when I'm working. So yeah, I can understand. Salem to Martinsville, that's quite a haul, going down there to Nelson Motorsports.
Oh, yeah.
Old DJ. I'm going to have to send him a message when we leave out of here and say they've had nothing but nice things to say about you. You better tip all that good NASCAR winning money you got going on right there when you show up. And that's another thing, the bartenders, they're all, I know quite a few of them. I don't know if you got the same ones from the last time I was in here, but Holly, I've known her since.
Yeah, all of our bartenders are local.
Knee-high to a grasshopper, Honeycutt. I think we went to Iraq with him. Does he still work here?
Jason?
Honeycutt?
Yep.
Yeah, he went to Iraq with us there he ended up going home a little early, I think, but
Holly Martin, Samantha Hall, I mean, they've those were two of the first we hired. Jason's here now, Brendan Buzzio's here.
Yeah, people
so it's not just creating.
I really think they really enjoy working here. I
mean,
slinging beer's fun, and they know everybody, so
it's not just, tax revenue for the town. You're employing local people. I mean, it's that symbiotic
and local people that like their job, local people that get. I mean, who wouldn't want a job where you have beer around you at all points and times, and all your friends and family are constantly coming in here and saying hello, dropping by, people you hadn't seen in a long time. I mean, it's kind of community atmosphere that I enjoy. I mean,
there's something you talked about a connecting path down to the corner here.
Yeah, you're trying to bait me a little bit.
No, I'm not going to bait you at all on that. Not at all. I don't do that. I don't manipulate that.
Really, man.
But I think that would be a good thing to have for foot traffic that are doing the circuit around the other venues that are here. Yes. I mean, also, so just walking up the side of the street is no big deal.
Yeah, and it's dangerous.
And it is dangerous because we know how some folks drive here in Franklin County, which is actually fairly poorly. So that is definitely on the...
It's on the docket. My understanding is it's been, it's been approved. Cornerstone surveyors who are up here right above us, they did the surveying, so we know that's done. I think, small town, budget dollars between Rocky Mount. I think my understanding is Rocky Mount and Franklin County are going to pay for this together. And it's supposed to be a really nice path. It kind of winds up the hill with benches and lights, so it's not going to be cheap, but
right.
It's
so I mean,
needed.
it's on the drawing board. It's gone beyond just the drawing board now. So we'd like to encourage that. I think would be a good thing because everything's beginning to come together.
I agree,
and that would be that's just the icing on the cake. Yeah. I think that would be super cool. So if we can encourage that along with any of the administrators that are listening, please check a box, and that would be greatly appreciated.
Well, this is a great place as well. Like we mentioned earlier, we came up here for the town council forum they had up here. I mean, it's very spacious, and who doesn't want to come up here and listen to your politicians go back and forth against each other while it's amongst your drinking beer? Now, granted, that night it was all people who kind of were on the same path and perspective. I was disappointed in the fact that not more of our people that are running for office didn't show up to be able to speak, and that's on them. That's not on you all, because you all opened it up just like we have. We opened it up to every single person running. We said, come up here, come on the show. If you want to defend, your side of things, if you want to tell us we're wrong, if you want to tell, Brian or Philip that they're wrong, by all means, please come on to the show. You all did the same thing. You invited every single one of them. Only a handful of them showed up. But still, the fact that we have a place like that now, it kind of makes the process a little more cool. It's like, well, who really cares about going and listening to a bunch of politicians go back and forth? But now you can go up there and drink some beer and listen to them. It might be a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah, we've been asking for politicians, for elected politicians, to engage in the people that vote them in, and that doesn't necessarily have to, because we know they don't respond to any questions in public meetings and so forth. But to engage in the local population, folks that actually voted you in an atmosphere like this is a good thing. You should be embracing that, because if you haven't got a feel of the public, then you're not representing them.
Well, places like this make you look good. I mean, let's just be honest with you. It makes you look good.
Beer makes everybody look good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially through the bottom of an emptying glass. It's a great concept.
But no, just the facility in itself, like, for whatever you think about Steve Engel, this place fell under his watch. So, that's going to look back on his legacy. So, well, Living Proof showed up while he was here. The Burger Company showed up while he was here. Buddy's showed up while he was here. I mean, there were a lot of positive places that came to be under his administration. So if you are a politician around here and you are somebody that wants to see the town thrive, then it's probably in your best interest to come up here and be amongst your peers and drink some really good beer while, and kudos to Holland, Ben, and Philip. They were the only three.
It's all about kissing babies, right?
Well, as somebody that has a couple of babies at home right now, I'm going to let you know everything gets dragged back to the house and they're constantly always sick if you don't watch yourself. So if I was ever a politician, maybe I'll just have a little stamp or something with some lips
one of them
on it.
Rubber stamps, yeah.
There you go, and I'll just push it on your baby. There's my kiss. There you go. But I don't think I could ever imagine entering those den of vipers, as you so eloquently put it.
The nest of
vipers.
Yes, indeed.
Not sure I could ever do that.
Oh, no, I don't think I could either. Now, what's the capacity? What do you hear? What is your coded capacity? Because it looks like you could hold a fair old...
I think we're our capacity, set by the powers that be.
It's normally the fire department.
People?
180.
Wow.
Between inside and outside.
That's not bad at all.
No.
That is not bad at all.
And
that's
truly,
actually...
we can throw open the garage doors on the front and have people standing out in the parking lot.
And that's one thing I really like about a lot of local breweries, how they do it, is they have that garage door where people can kind of congregate in and outside. They can smoke, because, a lot of people want to smoke when they drink. And you don't keep it quite as crowded inside. There's always people rotating in and out. I think that's always been a genius. And it looks just, once again, aesthetics. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's not
I was surprised. That's a big number. I mean, that's fantastic. Hey, it's getting better.
Absolutely, and also just for me, I'm looking at it as an opportunist standpoint. I mean, we've got so many different people wanting to come on the show, wanting to come to the area, wanting to come hang out, and I'm glad we have a place now we can bring them up to, because now we have another talking point. We have another reason for them wanting to come back on the show at some point. We're like, hell, I had such a good time coming up there. I stayed for a couple of days. I listened to some music, stopped by the brewery. I like that brewery. I like the music. They're going to come back, and they're going to hang out again. They're going to do another show, and they're going to spend their money here in this town. I'm glad I have a place I can say, hey, man, we can stumble.
It's
literally.
local.
Wife can drive us up here. We can stumble back down to the house. It's somewhere that's very centrally located. And we need that sort of thing. We need, this is a place that I think we could do a live show at. Some of these more far-reaching guests we have.
And some of the big-name guests. Oh,
exactly. Yeah. Like we've been wanting to look into more live shows. Like I said, the acoustics sound great in here. We can come in here. We can do a show. People are going to show up. They're going to buy a ton of beer. They're going to be, it's no different than music. It really isn't. But, to some degree, it could, depending on what you like, could be better music. If you want to come in here and, hear Josh Grice belt out the same old tunes he's been playing for 50 years and the same old covers, then, yes, you come in here and you're going to have a good time. You're going to spend some money, drink some beer. Or you come in here and we've got a phenomenally intelligent guest that's, coming in from out of town that's going to bring a lot of people in here just to hear what they've got to say, and they'll also drink the beer as well, and they're going to walk away smarter from it. Unlike,
how come they had to be from out of town to be phenomenally intelligent?
Well, we're about to dispel that myth when we host one of the your trivia nights. I think we'll dispel that myth fairly quickly.
My wife is super excited about that night, by the way. I think her and your wife and Tina and Amos should all form a team up and come compete that night.
Lord. You guys have to figure out what you want to do, what subject you want to do, or we just do general trivia.
We'll hold on, we have an option about subjects.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is interesting. I'm still a history guy.
Yeah.
We got to think of something that's going to really play to our significant other's strengths, because that's how we get their support and encouragement to continue to come up here and spend afternoons like this, as if we let them walk away as winners on trivia night. Not saying we're going to be rigging the game or anything, but
yeah, you are.
If we can
Sounds
pick
a little iffy. I don't know.
You smelled that too, didn't you?
I'm
just like, you dirty cheese.
Pick a subject that they might be a little bit more comfortable with.
Slip them a few of the answers. I know where you're going with this, Billy. That's just underhand, mate.
Hey, look. All I'm thinking about is making the wife happy, so I can keep on coming
happy
here.
Life.
Exactly. So
I've got another question. These glasses are quite unique. I have not seen this style of glass before.
They are, and I picked this style out specifically from research. Again, that research word comes back up.
A lot of thought goes behind beer.
These glasses are designed specifically to channel the aroma from the beer to your nose first before you get the drink.
Right.
I can't stand to go somewhere, and I hate to say it for people who do it, but I can't stand to go somewhere and get my beer in a typical pint glass, a typical shaker glass. It does nothing for the beer. These are designed for craft beer. They channel the aroma. A good part of your taste is coming from the aroma of the beer, especially when you get to your hoppy beers and some things like that. So these glasses are specifically designed for that. We love them because they are unique.
Yeah. I'm testing it out right now. Here we go.
You're kind of... what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say lightweight, but kind of.
I'm in for the distance, mate. I'm not one of these guys that does a 100-yard dash and falls over. I'm here for the marathon.
What is your implication with that comment?
Well, I know where you're going with yours.
Well, look, if we're running the marathon, I'm the type who can sprint the entire marathon. If you want to play the role of the tortoise,
he is one ahead.
If you want to play if you want to play the role of the tortoise,
we're like 1.5 ahead.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
and the only reason it's only 1.5 ahead is because I have no more in front of me. Else would be 4 or 5 ahead. And I would continue to stay consistent.
I
thought the English could drink, but I guess it's the Germans that really can drink.
Oh, in Shulligan's bitter?
Every time he does this, I got no idea where to go with the show. He knows about every language in Europe. And
well, you see, now I can do a yard of ale. I've done a yard of ale. You guys know what a yard is. It's
we talking measurements here?
It's about 2.5 pints in a long fluted stem with a bowl.
Das Boot.
It's not Das Boot. No. It's good effort, though.
That's the German side again.
Okay.
I like the Das Boot.
Yes, that was a great show. There is the boot that you can drink out of, but the yard of ale it's a technique. You've got to turn the bowl as you're sipping out of this long glass, and it can rush it down at you.
You look like with that. I wish everybody could see, because just to give a demonstration what he's doing, he's got one arm extended out and the other arm kind of towards his chin. He looks like he's cupping the balls. I don't really know. That's the best way I can describe it. And you look like you're really good at that.
I failed a couple of times because you can get this big rush of beer come down if you don't turn the bowl. The bowl is spelt B-O-W-L, just in case there's any enunciation problems here.
I'm pretty sure
sounded like ball to me. I'm just saying. He was turning the ball.
We at least know.
Hence the spelling of the word and the enunciation. So I could be able to do several. And it's the time I should bring my story from Louisiana out.
You talking about the 42?
Yeah. There were 42 beers on tap in this bar that was by Lake Pontchartrain. And it was I think it was the playoffs again. And they said, hold on,
what playoffs?
There was some American football playoffs.
It's not American football. It's football.
It's football. Straight up.
It's just
American football.
Would you like another one, Simon?
Twist my bloody arm. So, hang on about. I've got a slurp to catch up. I mean, I think you're putting me under social pressure here, Billy. So this bar had 42 beers on tap. And it just came to me in a vision. And it was on the first floor. And there is relevance to this a little bit later on. So I saw 42 beers on tap, and they had some English beer in there as well. Fuller's London Pride, all sorts. German beers, Danish beer, local beer. Some of the Louisiana beer that was foul. Anyway. And I thought, well, I'm going to do flights of beer. And I'll start from one end. And I'm going to see how many flights I can do tasting every single beer.
Now, when you're talking about flights, you're talking about the little...
They weren't little. They were third of a pint flights. So they were respectable. So I thought, well, I'll do... And they were doing them in fours. So I'd start off the first four. And I said to the barman, I said, right, there's not that many people in here. I'm going to do the flights. And with every glass, I'm going to mark it in where I think it is. Is it good? If it went up, it was good. If it was bad, it was down here. You know, so you get this almost a graphical display along the bar of the beers that I had drunk and what I thought of them. And at that point, some of the lads were figuring out that I'd know which beers they should be drinking. So they'd all come up to me and say, which beer's a good one? And I picked the strongest one every single time. So they'd be drinking pints of the strongest beer possible. So they got level way sooner than me. So that was a strategy. So anyway, I made it to 36.
36 flights.
Yeah. No, 36 beers. Look at that funny. Look at that.
So 9 flights.
Yeah. I did 9 flights. And I was pretty rotten because I hadn't eaten. And I had to be...
That's 12 pints at that point if they were a third of a pint.
Yeah, it was a lot of beer. So I was goonered. The lad that was with me...
You were what?
I was goonered.
Goonered?
Yeah, I was done.
I will forever use that word. I will forever... Goonered. I will forever use that word when I describe somebody that's drunk.
Now, the key part of this story is that it was on the first floor. Now, the genius in the design of this is they had an elevator to get me to the ground floor. So my mate kind of assisted me to get on the elevator, which was a stroke of genius, because there's absolutely no way I was going to deal with a flight of stairs. I'd just done 9 flights of beer. I wasn't going to deal with a flight of stairs. It wasn't happening. So I was hammered, goonered, however you want to look at it. So he goes outside and he leans me up against a lamppost or some telegraph pole or something, whatever it was. And
telegraph?
A telephone pole. Oh, for goodness sake, Billy.
He said telegraph.
That's what
I mean, when he says these things, I'm sitting there, my mind is racing to think what a telegraph pole may be.
Telephone
pole. Are you sending Morse code to somebody back home?
So I was leaning whilst he was going to get his car or truck. And right in front of this, apparently, because I only found this out the following morning, was a big Cadillac. Now, the following morning, I found out, he goes, you left a face print on that Cadillac. Apparently, I'd slipped off the pole onto the hood of this Cadillac and left a big dent in the hood, or the bonnet, as we call it. And I only found that out the following morning. But, 36 beers, 12 pints, that was my limit.
Were they all different beers?
All different. Every single one was different. Yeah.
Louisiana is quite the experience, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I've already mentioned.
Well, we know how much you like the French.
Well, they
Louisiana
do that. They've got the drive-in daiquiri store.
They do.
Have you figured this out? I don't know how they get away with this. This is why I'm thinking the licensing laws in Virginia are so restricted, but in Louisiana they're the complete opposite.
Because they'll have little less to offer than Virginia does, so they can be a little bit more lax.
Maybe. There's a drive-through daiquiri store that will give you a 32-ounce daiquiri, Everclear, right? And then as you're paying, they hand you a straw as a drive-through. What do you think is going to happen? You know, I'm just like, you've got to be shitting me.
That's road soda.
You've just given me. That's an incentive
to drink and drive.
Well, rather. I mean, what is going on? So now you've got, and this is continental US. So you've got one set of rules in Virginia that's very prim and proper about its drinking licensing and so forth. And then you've got Louisiana that couldn't be more reckless with 32-ounce Everclears and a straw. I mean, it's bloody ridiculous. I mean, it's just like, what is going on? I don't get it. But anyway, that's just me, and that was just a funny story, and it's one that I'll never be allowed to forget, because every time I get up with my offshore fellas, that's the one thing they always remind me of.
Well, I'm impressed. 36 different beers. So
I couldn't do 42 though. I was done.
6 away.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
6 away. That's kind of weak.
Well, no, listen, I couldn't string a sentence together.
Can you imagine the possibilities of Simon not being able to string a sentence together?
I was that incoherent. It was bloody funny. And then taking out a Cadillac at the end of the evening.
You should take him there for a podcast.
You know what? We have the opportunity to. I have a good friend of mine. I'm going to shout him out. I don't know if I've ever mentioned him on the show before, but his name is Travis Matacek. And yes, that name sounds as French and Cajun as it is, Matacek. And I went to basic training with this guy, and to this day we're still friends. We never served anywhere together, but I always try to keep in touch with him because, I mean, I'm up here in Appalachia, and to have a alligator humping Cajun buddy like that down there just to be able to keep in touch with.
Is he north of I-10 or south of I-10? There's a big difference.
He is, as far as he is in Mandeville, which I think is just
Mandeville. That's where I used to work. Mandeville. Really?
So, you probably came across his Cajun ass in a bar a couple of times.
More than likely. I remember because that bar that we went to, that was the first time I'd been to that bar with the 42 beers. And it must have been, and then I went offshore, and then I came home so I was offshore for a month. I was home for a month, I went back offshore. So it must have been 3 months later, and I'd only been in that bar once. I walked in, having got back onshore, feeling fairly thirsty again as usual. The barman remembered my name instantly. Glad to see you back, Simon. I went, oh shit, I must have made an impression.
They do. It's funny when we do our back and forth, I give him hell about being a French Cajun, and he does sound like Farmer Fred from The Water Boy, if you've ever seen that movie before. They sound like that. Of course, he always calls me a hillbilly MFer, which...
Well, you see, the relevance of the north and south of I-10, and I'm not quite sure, it's either a badge of honour or it's an insult. I haven't figured out what it is yet, because if you're north of I-10, you're Cajun. If you're south of I-10, going all the way down through Golden Meadows and Fouchon and all of that interesting place, you're a Cunard.
What?
A Cunard.
Can you spell that for everybody listening?
Coonass.
Okay.
And I haven't figured out. Some people think that that's a little bit insulting, and others it's a badge of honour. But that was the relevance of the I-10. If you're south, you're Cunard. If you're north, you're Cajun.
You ever been to Louisiana?
Yeah,
never been.
Great place.
Never been?
Great place.
I'm assuming New Orleans.
Well, I've been to New Orleans and a couple other, I can't even remember where. But definitely New Orleans. 3-for-1 beers, you can't beat that.
The Hurricane at Pat O'Brien's.
Oh, dear.
Oh. What's the other big drink? The Bloody Marys in New Orleans.
They're superb.
Are top notch. Because, you want to talk about spice. And honestly, it is phenomenal marketing and it's phenomenal strategy when it comes to the drinking game. So for the Bloody Marys down there, you'll get one in New Orleans. They're going to bring it out. Not only is it going to be spicy, but they're going to also add in like half a deviled egg, a freaking couple pieces of bacon, olives. They got 5 different food items that they're going to put on top of that drink. So you can always eat as you're drinking, and you continue to drink. And
it's a meal.
It's a meal as you drink every single time.
They'll put okra in their Bloody Marys.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's a big deal.
And I order spicy every time I go somewhere now and order a Bloody Mary. Like, do you want it this or spicy? I'm like, spicy every single time. I'm like, well, how hot is it? And they always say, oh, it's super hot. And then I drink it. I'm like, well, not compared to New Orleans, but down there, that's what a place.
I think it's an amazing place.
Well, of course you do. You're an English drunk.
Well, I did get. I actually got
American
thrown.
Drunk, so.
Yeah, this takes some doing as well. Not many people can get thrown out of some of the bars that I would frequent, being offshore trash. I actually got thrown out of a bar in Morgan City, which, let me tell you, is pretty low on the food chain.
Morgan City or the bar you got thrown out of?
Well, the fact that the bar was in Morgan City pretty much said everything anyway. But I managed to get thrown out of a bar there, and the one in Mandeville that we got thrown out of, I was with a ranger.
An Army Ranger?
Army Ranger.
Or a Park Ranger?
No, an Army Ranger.
Okay, well.
He was triple canopy. He'd been near too many explosions because he had a twitch. He had a tick.
Probably ate a lot of crayons, too.
Well, no, he wasn't a Marine.
Oh.
That's where I was going.
So we got into it. It was in a fish restaurant that was a good bar as well that we used to frequent as a company. But not so much now after what we did. There were 2 FBI agents in there, allegedly, and that developed into a brawl. And we still have the discussion as to who put who across a table. Because in the morning I sort of came to and I thought, well, we had a bit of an incident last night. Can't quite remember what it was. I saw Doug, said Ranger. I said, you put that fellow across the table, didn't you? And he goes, no. He goes, it was you. I said, no. It was you. And he goes, no, it wasn't me. So to this day, we don't know which one of us put an FBI guy across the table. But we had to leave that bar fairly quickly thereafter as well. But anyway, little stories. It just paints the picture of me actually sounding English, thinking I'm frightfully proper, when really I'm not. I'm a barbarian. Making it clear.
Well, no disagreements from the peanut galley, that's for sure. New Orleans, it's a really fun place to go visit. I guess you could also talk your wife and kid into going down too, because you could say, well, you got the cemetery tours, and you got a lot of like cultural history down there in the jazz music. I mean,
the music's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even care for jazz, but when you stumble into a bar,
trad
you got like a 5-piece
amazing.
brass set or something playing, it just kind of blows your mind.
To stumble into the bar, they walk down the streets playing it.
Well, that too.
You do one of their traditional funerals going down French Quarter through the French Quarter. Wow,
it really is a different, like a complete different culture. I mean, like so many people want to just like gel Americana right into this little box and everything like that. But I mean, you couldn't be farther from. I mean, every little corner of this country that I've visited always has a little bit of unique style of doing things, and New Orleans is super, super unique.
Yeah,
I've been down there.
I mean, their seafood, their oysters. Oh goodness me, crawfish. We did a crawfish boil, and it was one of the first times when I went down there. I think in 2007, and there was a big crawfish one. I wasn't getting the whole craziness about sucking the heads out of the crawfish and everything, but that's where all the flavour comes from. So to not suck the head and then pinch the body out is,
Can you come up with some different language than suck the head? I mean, we have a very conservative listening audience here.
Sexually deviant.
You're going
I'm always
off on
doing
tangents.
this deliberately.
I would love to take my children back down there, to visit my buddy Modicek and stuff, because it really is a cultural difference and stuff. And I don't know, it's just it's fun to be able to celebrate, what all we have to offer, and bring some of that back up here. Always, you always have a little bit of that Cajun flavor that somehow manages to make its way all around the country.
To be fair, they're batshit crazy.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt,
batshit crazy.
I think, and you know what? One of my trips down there, and I hate to even say this, but one of my trips, I've been there 4 times. I think I went down to see 311 for 311 Day. I went down to see Widespread Panic at Halloween. Went down again to see Panic at Halloween. And then I went down in a July road trip. My brother got married. That night we went to a bar down at the lake. We all drank, had a good time. The next morning we had to wake up and drive 17 hours to New Orleans. God almighty. Because the Harwell Grice Band was playing. I drove all the way to New Orleans.
So you're this closet fan of Josh Grice is what you're saying. Oh, great.
No. There is a lot of deeper stories involved in that road trip that I can't really get into on the air. I will explain it to y'all off the fact. But let's just say that, of course, his sister really wanted to go to New Orleans. She'd never been there, and I said, "Well, we know the layout or whatever. We'll just drive down there. We'll make it a weekend." Yeah, the guy's van we borrowed to go to, because we were going to rent a vehicle. So there were 6 of us. I was like, "We're going to rent a vehicle." Well, we had this guy that had a van, and
no story ends good that starts with we knew a guy that had a van.
And we said, "Look, we'll give you $300
with free candy written on the outside."
We will give you $300. Let us borrow your van. That's a car. It's a van payment for you for a month. You get a whole month. We'll take it down there. We'll clean it. When we get back, top notch, which we did. And we had a little picture of us and all the girls. It was 3 guys and 3 girls. We all took the road trip. And a few years later, that same person who owned that van ended up getting locked up and arrested for trying to solicitate from a 14-year-old girl. So I hope wherever he's at right now, he's getting bell ringed in the asshole.
Maybe the wood chipper.
But that van, no less, was such a integral part of our trip. But yeah, we drove all the way down there 14 hours to go see Josh Grice play music. How miserable of a life do you have to have at that point in time? Where was I at? Yes, where was I at in my life? You know what I mean? I was at a desperate point.
It must have been a low point.
It was. I was also at the time kind of dating one of our former guests' daughters. I'm not going to mention who that was either. But that was a big reason we went down there. But it is. It's a very culturally appropriate city.
By the way, this glass does work.
What, it gets the beer from the glass to your mouth?
No, the aroma and the strategy behind that. Sorry, strategery.
Strategery, there you
go.
It
was a strategery.
So for you two gentlemen, you're getting ready to pop up on your 1-year anniversary. As far as the rest of 2023 is concerned, what all are your plans? What are your objectives? What would you like to see with this place? What are some of your aspirations? Like, do you have like other beers you're going to be testing out? Do you have some huge music acts aside from the Hallwell Graceman? They're going to be coming here playing. We're going to get the place excited. I mean, we know about the trivia stuff. We know about things like that. We're going to make that a night. But as far as everything else is concerned, what does 2023 look like for you all?
As far as beers go, you ask about new beers. We're trying to put out new beers as often as possible. Of course, we have favorites that I try to keep on tap as much as possible.
The
but
big
I do
sellers.
have a 10-gallon pilot system where I get to play a little bit and make some off-the-wall stuff that I really like. I think next on tap for that is going to be a hot pepper beer made with smoked jalapenos. But, coming up for St. Patrick's Day, we're going to have an Irish Red. We're going to have a dry Irish Stout.
What was the wooden barrel you've got in there? What have you got lined up for that beauty?
So I have a wooden barrel that aged peg hatchers from Twin Creeks Distillery right down the street here. They took the pegs out in January, or I lied. They released it on Black Friday, so they took it out a little bit before Black Friday and brought us a barrel, and we're going to put one of our higher ABV beers in there.
There you go.
Let it sit until our anniversary party. It's not going to age as long as I would like it, but it's going to age enough where you're going to get that nice whiskey flavor as well as the beer flavor mixed in there. So hopefully we'll have some bottles of that for special release to take home with you, as well as having some here to drink on the anniversary party night.
So we could come in with growlers for that, right? Would you consider doing that? I mean, you've only got a limited quantity, obviously, from the barrel, so you don't want to necessarily be selling too many growlers.
I think we're going to just serve it in-house, but bottle a significant amount of it so you can buy a bottle.
Okay. Yeah, that sort of thing fascinates me when you're starting messing with, charred barrels that are bourbon. I mentioned earlier when we were offline.
And the whiskey's amazing, too, so I'm sure it's going to give the beer a great flavor.
So it's going to, and all that infuses in with just some great flavor notes in the beer. And there was one particular one that I mentioned earlier was about using port barrels as well. And that was one of my most, for the life of me, I drank so much of it I can't remember what the hell it was called. But it was just off the chart, so any experimentation with whiskey barrels, port barrels, sherry barrels, is just a great way of coming up with an anniversary beer or something crazy.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going to go with barrel aging, but this is definitely not going to be the only one.
Great. Love
hopefully we get a couple collaboration beers in there with some of the other local breweries, I think.
Because those barrels aren't cheap. They are not cheap.
Not normally. If you know somebody, you can get them a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Like the folks at Twin Creeks.
Roger that.
It's not what you know with them.
It's who you know.
That's right.
I think they manufacture a lot of those barrels down in Marion, Virginia as well. I don't know if that's where y'all get y'all's from, but being somebody who is a truck driver in my spare time.
So if one happened to fall off the back of a truck?
Well, we haven't actually delivered the barrels to there. We just deliver things that they use to manufacture the barrels. But that is a place that here is in Virginia, in Marion, and I'm not sure if that's the place Twin Creeks gets them from, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do. So, yeah, there is a place down there. You could probably go down there and, who knows, get them wholesale. I'm not really sure, but pretty cool, unique little place to deliver to. So, what about you, Jim? You being on the opposite side of this thing, what are your hopes?
Yeah, so you guys were asking bigger acts for this year and what we're going to bring here. So I just pulled up my list real quick. We book most of our music through Sandra Ronaghy. I don't know if you guys ever had her on, but she runs Lovers Rock Productions, so she's become pretty big on the lake and books a lot of music. So just thinking about having her on. So we got Tin Can Locomotive later this year. Empty Bottles is
Tin Can Locomotive. That's our buddy Kyle Forey.
Yep. Kyle's going to be here then. He's coming back later with I think he's going to do a duo later in the year too. I don't know who he's going to do it with yet.
Probably Matt Powell or Josh Grice, unfortunately.
Damn it, he keeps showing up.
Empty Bottles is here. They're going to be here. They're going to do our Kentucky Derby party.
Oh,
$5
that kind of seems like right up your neck of the woods, very Kentucky Derby-ish.
Well, funny you should say that. I was actually born in the town of Epsom, which is the home of the Epsom Racecourse and the Epsom Derby. And the Kentucky Derby was created on this side of the pond that was replicating the Epsom Derby. Not a lot of people know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Now a whole lot more do.
Yeah.
It would appear so.
At least your 3 listeners.
There we go.
Man,
that was a cut to the heart.
That was a deep shot to the heart.
Lord.
So what else we got beyond the Kentucky Derby?
So we have $5 Shake's going to be here for our anniversary party.
Okay.
Carly Ray here's been a bunch. She was actually just here this Saturday night, and she packs the place when she's here. I think who else we got later
for you
this year.
Louisiana lovers, we do have a Mardi Gras party coming up too.
Uh-oh.
February 18th.
Mardi
We're not going to
Gras,
have any crawfish to
Mardi
suck
Gras
the heads.
and St. Patrick's Day.
Oh.
Simon.
Whew. Yeah, those are some of the bigger ones. I mean, I think for the brewery itself, once we hit spring weather, hopefully we can get a lot more people outside, right? We've got that hill out there, and now we've got grass out there, so going to put a lot of chairs and, Adirondack chairs and some other tables and stuff, hopefully get some people hanging out.
Who wouldn't want to sit in front of that view?
Yeah, and listen to somebody like Josh Grice belt out terrible music from the inside while you're out there enjoying a couple beers and a nice little, bonfire or something like that. It's comfort. It really is. Wouldn't you agree?
One of these days, your Josh Grice comments are going to catch you up, and he's going to get you.
How's he going to get me? What is he going to do?
I've got no idea, but I think Josh is quite creative.
He has been on this show multiple times. He has had the opportunity to come on this show multiple times since. All he has to do is reach out to me and do it. He doesn't do it because he isn't clever enough to come back out here and give me a response that's worthy.
Oh, so you're saying sarcasm might be lost on Josh?
There's a lot of things lost on Josh. Musical talent is one of them.
Clearly, you guys go way back.
Further back than I really even care to talk about. And I know there's some stories about Josh
that's a two-way street, brother.
Not as nearly two ways you would think it would be.
I don't know.
Nearly two ways. I mean, and I've got pictures to back it up somewhere. I think if I hadn't lost them, God, I need to find that website. I had pictures. I'll tell y'all when we get off the mics of these pictures that I had. Well, let's just say that.
Incriminating?
Well,
embarrassing? Humiliating?
No, none of the above.
Oh.
You might consider these photographs to be, for some people.
Please don't say sexually explicit.
We're not going to even. I'm not going to go there. Let's just say that.
That's very humble of you. That's actually rather magnanimous, quite frankly.
Let's just use this hypothetical from his musical attributes. He's got a lot to be proud of. And if you're not afraid to show that in a public setting, wrapped around in clear saran wrap, then you have got a lot going on for you.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Good for him.
Good job,
Good
Josh.
for him.
I'm sorry, Josh. I'm almost encouraging this to come out.
I'm hoping his wife's not
But,
listening.
just remember.
His wife knows better than anybody. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there on a limb. I would not be surprised. And Riley Brubaker probably knows those stories all too well. That would be his brother-in-law. And we gave Riley Hill on the last episode as well because he's somehow a Yankees fan that lives here in Rocky Mount, Virginia, because we all know how...
Well, you would have thought he would have been a closet Yankees fan.
We all know how prominent the Brubaker name is in the Bronx. We really understand, and the grind staffs too. How unique their name is up around the stadium, and they're super huge fans. You're a Mets fan. I will hold that against you on a normal basis, but number one, Ron Hodges, so you can't really hate the Mets in this town in public. Now, I'll hate the Mets behind closed doors, and I'll hate it in front of Ron, but I won't do, for the fact. But you also from the northern part of this country, so it's not like you just started rooting for the Yankees while you lived here in Franklin County, or rooted for the Cowboys, which seems to make no sense. Like, I don't get it. We just had Frank Reich take over for the Carolina Panthers. That's who everybody needs to be rooting for around here is the Carolina Panthers. Frank Reich. former head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. He just took over, and as far as I know, Frank is a future guest on this show.
Oh, that'll be fascinating.
He's a neighbor of mine, too.
I knew that. That's why I didn't want to give that up. I didn't want to give that up.
Did you see how subtle that was?
I didn't want to give that up. Yeah. But I do know, yes, he is a...
Were you playing the room?
He is a member... He's
not a bad golfer.
No, he is a member of the Franklin County community, and the ways I know I have come about him coming on the show is why I appreciate him, and I'm going to root for the Panthers because of him. I root for the Colts this year because of him. And Frank has some phenomenal stories. Like, he's got the greatest comeback in college football history as a quarterback, and he's also got the greatest comeback in the history of the NFL as well. Both. Now, he was never a household name in the NFL because when he got that comeback, he was a backup, and he came in the second half.
For Jim Kelly, yeah.
For Jim Kelly, who was the famous quarterback known for making it to 4 Super Bowls in a row and losing every single one of them. It's Buffalo Bills, from my Buffalo Bill Mafia fans out there. I have a lot of them.
Turned off the podcast, I can tell you that.
Oh, dear, that just got cut. That's it, censored.
I have a lot of them. A lot of fans. But he came back, they were down like 35-3, and he was a quarterback that led this amazing playoff. I mean, it goes down, it's football history. And same thing in college. I think he was playing for Maryland.
Yep.
Yeah, Maryland, and they were playing Miami back in the day. And Miami was, as we all know, back in the day, Catholics versus convicts. I mean, they were the real deal. And he orchestrated probably a 28 or 30-point comeback in that game as well that went down. So Frank lives in the area. He has a house in the area.
Correct.
And he's the coach of the Panthers. So because he chose this part of Appalachia, we should all be supporting him. We all should be rooting for him and not those commies in D.C., who I grew up loving so much and being a huge fan of.
A quick side note, Frank is an ordained minister, so you guys may want to clean up the show just a little bit.
We've had an ordained minister on here many times.
We had our first show without any cussing on
2 days
Friday.
ago. Yeah.
Not one.
How'd that go?
It was a miracle.
I would think so.
Hold on, there was no cussing and no alcohol. Neither. So
that they kind of go hand in hand.
Well, I think one encourages the other.
Absolutely.
So if he's an ordained minister, that would be the third one we would have on the show because we've had Amos, who is a German Baptist ordained minister, and let's just be honest about that. He's no Melissa Gayona or her husband Joshua, to say the least, but an ordained minister no less.
And then we've had Joshua.
And I guess Frank, if that would be number 3. But and that's fine. Like I appreciate that side of him. You know what I mean? Like we had Melissa on here, and we were able to share her story and share all the wonderful things she does and the prevention of child trafficking and all that kind of good stuff, which was a great show. You listen to this, after the fact, go back and listen to that one if you haven't. It was a great show.
What a great person.
And Simon was able to clean it up. We were able not to drink any on the show, and I think we could do the same with Frank. But once again, huge person to support that decided to make this area his home. And I'll do that anytime. Anytime anybody comes on to this show and gives us our time or gives us their time, because in my humble opinion, time is the most valuable resource you have because it's one you can never get back. And it's one that is very important. And for me, as much as I love my wife and my children, any time away from them is always precious for me. So if you're going to give me your precious time and I'm going to give you my precious time, I'm going to support you as far as I can possibly go until either you don't want that support anymore or you give me a reason not to do it. Frank falls in that category. So does this place right here, like Living Proof. We'll forever shout y'all's names from the rooftop because you gave us a time. And that's not to say other breweries won't come along and say, hey, would you like to come on and tell our story as well? And we'll do it. And if they're good people and we walk away saying, man, you know what, we'll do the same for them. But you guys will always be our first. So sleep well at night knowing that you popped our brewery.
I kind of feel dirty knowing that.
You popped our cherries.
Where's the bleach? Now, could you say the same for Mahomes? If he happened to come and move by the lake. I mean, we had a bit of a back and forth on yesterday's game.
Did y'all watch any of the games yesterday?
I did.
What were your thoughts?
I have no thoughts.
For one, I think we got really screwed out of the first game.
Yeah, Purdy got hurt.
Yeah. I think
that was a shame.
It really
was.
They
just ran out of quarterbacks. I mean,
he was their third stringer, and he was probably the best one they had all season.
But why would you put a quarterback in that couldn't throw when you had a fourth string that could?
Who are you talking about?
Is it McCaffrey? He could have.
Actually, their fullback, not McCaffrey, but their fullback is their fifth, their emergency quarterback.
Was it their, what do they call him, a wild card?
McCaffrey could have done the Wildcat, yeah.
Right. So, to me, that was a very strange coaching decision.
Yeah, but you're talking about you're going up against, and I hate to give that city any kind of love. You feel me? I'm not a commie fan anymore. When they changed from the Redskins, that was the last straw for me. But I still have carried on that hatred for Philadelphia, Dallas, and to a lesser extent New York. Are you a Giants fan?
I'm a Giants fan.
There you go. I got Giants fans I was in a fraternity with, so I understand I sympathize with them. I was rooting for them this year. But for Philly, they were a dangerous offense. Jalen Hurts, better or worse, whatever you want to say about him, he has shown to be, at least this season, an incredible quarterback and an incredible athlete that has just propelled that team. So you're talking about going against a very fiery and explosive offense. You had to probably try and throw somebody out there that could at least sling the ball around and try and make an opportunity.
Because that defensive strategy against a quarterback that cannot throw significantly increases your statistical odds of overwhelming that offense. It just seemed like a bizarre decision. Even if the guy threw crap,
it was a bizarre situation.
At least he could throw. I know it was very strange, but that just struck me as a very...
Well, that's not really surprising. What is surprising is the second game when the referees decided to take it upon themselves to decide the outcome. That was the late hit.
He was well out of bounds.
That's more common than you think.
It is. You've got to understand, Simon is a Patrick Mahomes homer. And
just a great player.
And I can respect his athleticism. I can respect his abilities and everything. But the more it goes along, the more he just pisses me off more and more just by looking at him. I don't know what it is.
He's a funny guy.
I don't know what it is.
Look at the ads. He's a funny guy.
It's just like anybody else. If it's not your team, he's getting on your nerves if he's winning. Even Tom Brady was the same way.
You need a hug. You need a hug.
I need a team. My favorite football team is my fantasy team. I root for whoever is going to get me the most points in fantasy, and that's daily or yearly. But now it will be the Carolina Panthers. I will root for the Panthers, and it makes sense geographically. It makes sense for us. And if we can get Frank on the show, maybe swindle him out of a couple of nice coaches' box tickets or something. We can get in there when they're playing a crap team.
When Frank does the show, you can do it here. How about that?
That would be great. If he would be willing to do that, if he'd be willing to come up here and do that, we could bring a crowd up here. If he doesn't want to be bothered like that, if he doesn't mind, we would love to do that up here. Because you would get a ton of people to show up.
Pack the place.
You'd pack the place out. Set up a few speakers out here in the background, and let's do it.
Yeah,
I'll get my people to contact his people today and see, because now that the season's winding down, we've got that opportunity.
His people, my people. Did you see what happened?
I'll talk to my people too.
Oh, good. I don't want.
I'm just going to let you people talk, and I'm just going to sit back and drink beer.
I don't really have any people, so I talk to myself a lot.
Go Navy.
I do not want. I just do. I don't want to put my people's names out there to explain to you why they are my people or anything like that. But they also are getting us hooked up with the what are the guys in Roanoke, the Black Dog Salvage guys as well. That's going to be pretty exciting. So look, people out there, they're good to us. We appreciate you being good to us. We appreciate y'all gentlemen being good to us here today. I don't want this to be the last time we come in here and do a show. I would love to do Frank in here. I'd love to do maybe Josh Grice at some point in time.
Can you rephrase that a little bit after all the sexual innuendo you've just put me through?
Right, I know.
I think you need to rephrase that.
Rephrase what?
You doing people in here. Got you. That was beautiful. That was poetry.
Keep in mind, this is a family-friendly.
We would like to have.
Oh, absolutely.
We would like to have shows.
You just need to be over 21.
And we would like to sit down with you all again too. To find out how far you all have come along and the new things you all would like to do, and just to be able to promote you guys.
And we'd love to have y'all back.
Because we certainly enjoy having this opportunity and
free beer.
Yeah, well, that never hurts. But still, we're the type. We still come in here and pay for the beer. We don't. We've had numerous amounts of people that come in here and come on the show and offer free tickets to sporting events or free and. We'll take them if they offer them, but we're not going to bother you about them because we want to see y'all thrive as well. You know what I mean?
I wish we'd come sooner. You know,
I have come sooner, Simon. You are falling behind. Chris Montgomery has been here.
Yeah, no, I just
last time I was here, I hang out with Chris.
Yeah, I missed that one.
You did. You missed a lot of them. You missed the event up here for the town council as well that you were invited to. Simon has no respect for you all, just to let you know. So I'm hoping.
So ruthless.
So I'm from the other side of the pond.
There's definitely a cultural shift that he's missing out on, and the lack of respect is something to be desired. Leaves something to be desired. But hopefully now that you all have come here and given him a couple of free drinks, he might be inclined to come back here again. Now you might have to bribe him again.
Well, no, I'm really cheap. I'm really and of fairly low moral standing.
That I will not disagree with in the least. That's why we make such a good team here. So what's your address here for everybody, just in case they need to know it? It's not hard to find, but
no, 50 West Court Street.
50 West Court Street. So if you're coming through town, you're going to turn down the one way right there above the courthouse, and you're going to hook a right at the bottom of or about halfway down the hill. If you can't find a parking spot, just there'll be one somewhere.
Well, there's the parking spot right there where all the water collects and comes running.
Yeah, there's plenty of places to park. You might have to be a little creative about it, but you're not going to be
street parking. Too.
Yeah, tons of street parking. Not going to be far away.
Very, very accessible.
And if you come in here and can't find a parking space, that means it's a good thing. It's a good night. There's a lot of people up here hanging out and having a good time. So
I think that path would be a really splendid thing to get under construction.
So basically what Simon is trying to say to you all is, who does he need to go have a chat with here in the town council? Because I don't have a doubt whatsoever he'll go up there and make his presence be known if you need it.
If the wheels are in motion,
just leave it alone for now.
So you're just going to...
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to be like...
But that's a great thing. I mean, because that does...
I hope it works out, because it needs to be. Right there from here to the Harvester, you can just stumble right on down the hill, go see a show.
And a great connection between downtown and uptown. Help support the uptown business.
Yes. Absolutely. 100%. I agree. We've got a lot of uptown businesses that really need it. And who knows, maybe we'll open an uptown business here at some point in time. It probably won't be a massage parlor, but we'll think about it.
After the last few comments we had about massage parlors. Oh, no.
Anyway, so they got the address there. Go check them out. I know you're on Facebook. Are you on any other social media platforms?
Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram. I follow you all
over the place on it.
Quite a bit on Facebook. I enjoy it. We just shared a post here yesterday with all the crazy things they've got going on up here this month. It's going to be a lot of fun. You got a Veterans Night up here. I'm probably going to come up here and hang out a little bit because I'm going to get beer at a discount. I think you got a Firefighters Night I saw on there. You're smarter than a fifth grader night, which that really reaches out to a lot of our audience because that might be a question that needs to be answered. So there's a lot of really cool nights. We just shared that post. Come up here, check them out. Tell them that we sent you because it makes us look like we're reaching out to the public, and I think we do a pretty good job of that anyway. But, these guys are really here for us. They're really here for this community, and they're trying to offer you a little bit something different. So come up here and support them. Spend a couple dollars. Couple days a week or once a week. If you come up here once a week, once every 2 weeks, spend a few dollars, you're really going a lot further than you think. Every little bit adds up.
This is the community support we're talking about. And this is so grassroots. They're making the beer on premises. Right? Think about that for just a little bit. And you're supporting, local money that's going to be shared around the community because invariably everyone benefits. So, and the beer here is, man, I should have been here a long time ago. This is superb.
Anything you gentlemen want to shout out before we get off here?
We just thank y'all for coming and really look forward to having y'all come back.
We're looking forward to coming back. And then I'll do
I'll have you some warm beer with carbonation.
I'll be doing a flight test, and hopefully some of that barreled beer will be kicking around. Oh, yes.
And hopefully next time maybe we can get a little bit more into the technicals and stuff like it, because I was really interested when we got here. Y'all took us around for a tour, kind of talk about the process and everything. I think that's really interesting, something people might be interested in listening to. I think next time we can jump into that. So,
for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing it.
No, thank you all so much for having us. We had a blast. Really excited about promoting this place. As far as we're concerned, you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places at the Appalachian Podcast. Patreon.com/GetOnTap. That's our subscriber page. All these episodes that you're listening to, you can get them early. Once we record them, we go on Patreon, we release them. I'm getting ready to go release the Nicholas Robertson episode. I'm going to release that this evening when we get home. I'll release this one probably in a couple days from now, just to spread out just a little bit to give you a little bit of time. But this show will come out.
Has Melissa's show been dropped yet?
What's that?
Melissa's show has
It's already out on Patreon.
That's on Patreon.
But it's going to be released tomorrow, which will be...
Okay, I'm with you.
Whatever date that is, the 31st. But it's already out on Patreon page. So if you subscribe to Patreon, it's a minimum of $3. You can give more if you'd like to. Some guys give $5, some guys give 10, but it gives us an opportunity to, pay for this equipment, pay for the gas money to go around and do this kind of stuff. We're reinvesting it back in our community. So for everybody out there that does subscribe, we sincerely appreciate it. Every little bit helps. And you get all these episodes early. You get our Patreon subscriber only episodes where me and Simon really go off the rails and rant. And we're uncensored and uncut. So I think we're going to do another one of those this week. I really want to talk about something about agendas, and we'll get into that. But, thank you all so much. Check us out. Check these boys out. Come up here, have a beer, tell them we sent you, and we'll see you up here hanging out, hopefully for the trivia night coming up. I think in April we'll talk about that. We'll release that on the page, and definitely for St. Patrick's Day when Josh Grace and them are playing.
Opening hours. When are opening hours here?
Yeah, we're open Wednesday to Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 to 10, Friday, Saturday. We're open pretty much all day, noon to 10, and then Sunday, 1 to 7.
There we go.
Excellent.
So if you're in Rocky Mount, you know where to stop for refreshment.
Absolutely.
Make it happen.
Gentlemen, thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
We'll see y'all in here the next time, I promise. Take it easy.
Cheers.